This is the meeting of the Personnel Committee as a preliminary matter. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you may broadcast may be captured by the recording. This is Claire Pond, Chair of the Personnel Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Sue Terrian.
I'm here.
Tom Bradley, where are you? Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Margaret Nardowitz
Margaret's here.
and June Poland.
June is here.
Okay. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, we don't have any. With a quorum of the Personnel Committee present, I call this meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. on Wednesday, March 24th. So there's that. On the minutes, I did have a question before we vote on the minutes because I didn't put, Margaret, you had sent us an HRS invoice.
I did.
And I'm not sure we voted on it, did we?
You talked about it, but I haven't paid it yet because
We talked about it. We did not, that's what I thought. We didn't
Okay.
vote.
Okay, we
So-
didn't vote. Something else must have come up then. All right. So then our minutes, I'm going to go to that now then. The minutes of the meeting of 3:10 were sent out ahead of time. Sue, did you have a chance to read those minutes?
I did, and with the same question, so I will, wait a minute, make a
Just-
motion to accept those as written. It's been
Okay.
a long day, I'm
All
sorry.
right. No, that's okay. I second that. And I don't know where Tom is, so I guess we can put it to a vote. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Claire
So
Pond?
I,
Okay. So the minutes are approved. So I didn't put it in those minutes because I didn't think we approved it at that meeting. So I'd like to bring it up now, if possible, unless you have further information on it, Margaret, that we need to know about.
So the invoice I presented to personnel last time
Yep.
is for $2,500. It's a
Right.
partial final payment, so the final payment will be made when everything is completely done.
Okay. All right. And it was HRS invoice, I put 8900B.
And it was for $2,500.
Okay. HRS 2,500. All right. Given that
I
information,
shouldn't say that. It should be for $2,000.
2,000.
Yes, 2,000, not 2,500. My apologies.
No, that's okay. I just found it. So given that information, I'd like to make a motion that we approve HRS invoice 8900B in the amount of 2,000, which is half of the final payment for the consulting service that HRS has provided us on the compensation analysis and the policies.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? No other discussion. We can take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Claire Pond?
Sue, I,
Okay. All right, so that's done. Any PAFs, Margaret? I didn't see any.
No PAFs this time. Next time there might be with the new, with new hires for highway, so.
Oh, good. That's
I'll let you
going
know.
all right.
Yeah, we're moving forward on the pre-employment process.
Okay, great. And there are two of them that you're,
Yes, two of them.
great. Okay. The next item on the agenda, any other position vacancies that we need to know about or advertising that we need to do?
No, currently there's nothing. No.
Okay. All right, the next piece was the town administrator information.
That's part of it. And I've submitted all of the personnel committees and select boards comments and questions to Sandy at HRS, so she has those in hand.
Mhm.
June and I will explain that we're working on ours and getting those into Sandy as well.
Okay, good.
And I think a lot of them are going to match up with what personnel and the select board had put.
Oh, good.
We're really trying to hone in on, the operational pieces to see how it affects work, workflow and questions that we have.
Oh, absolutely.
With
Good,
you.
good. Okay.
And I think that's pretty much.
I have one question. Did the Board of Selectmen do that first page that Sandy asked them to edit and write? The first page, which was more a letter to the employee and welcome to the town. And she asked the selectmen
It
to,
was only comments and questions.
because we may want to kind of put a little prod to the selectmen to check out that first page to make it fit Berlin. I'm pretty sure that's what Sandy asked.
So it's the first page of the policies and.
It was, so yes, the first page of the policies and procedures.
The
Oh,
Yeah,
cover.
there it
yes.
is, the introduction. Yeah.
Right, it was the introduction and welcome to Berlin, and they
Yeah.
just asked that the select board look at the letter and make it more honed into Berlin.
Okay,
I will assist them with that. And June can assist as well.
I'm just writing that down here. I forgot all about that. Okay, good. All right. So the next item of business really is, let's see, we can go back to old business. Anything new on the budget update?
Well, the only thing that's new on the budget update is the select board and FinCom have both gone through all budget lines.
Wow.
I mean, this is like really exciting. And we only had to do it once this year.
And June
Oh
is
my God.
smiling.
I know, she's like.
Okay, I know, I don't want to speak too soon, but everything, yeah, the finance committee has voted all their recommendations. Now they're starting to scrub the town meeting warrant for their recommendations on that. So
Okay.
we are doing okay.
Okay,
And the 2% COLAs are in as recommended by FinCom and supported by the board.
great.
Oh, and just one more thing too, personnel related. So the contingency line item, you probably
Yep.
remember that from last year. Okay,
Yes.
so that is going to be partly funded to fund required contract adjustments since we're in negotiations with two separate collective bargaining units, and it'll account for fire chief negotiations as well.
Okay, so that was the money that you set aside for those processes?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, good. HR study update, which is going to be this part of the bylaws that we're going to go through. But I also wanted to ask about the compensation end of things. because we still haven't gone through and done our final on that. So I know that that's something that the committee needs to do on the compensation end of the HR study and make its final recommendations for, is it for fiscal year 21? I mean, 22?
So it would be for fiscal year 21. Now, the issue we have with the budget for fiscal year 21 is that adjustments that are to come in FY 21 are not funded in FY 22 yet. So that's something that really needs to
Right.
be, so that would have to be considered
Yep.
as far as potential funding next year for those adjustments to carry them.
So aren't we working on the fiscal 22 budget right now? Isn't that what we're, yeah,
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
right now, though, I think the only thing that's going to be changed on the compensation plan would be just the people that well, it really wouldn't matter, I don't think, unless you change them on the scale.
yep,
Everything else is going to be 2%. So there isn't going to be any, as of right now that I'm aware of, is any step raises or anything like that. So it'll just be that straight 2.5% change on the calculation for the spreadsheet.
right, on the classification spreadsheet. But then there were several in the compensation study that there was a recommendation that they be brought up to at least the new min and the new ranges.
Yep.
Okay, so those have been factored in. The ones that were brought forward and approved for the contingency funding this year
That we
are
already,
they're carrying
it's
forward
already
next
approved.
year as well.
okay.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Okay,
So those adjustments to the classification spreadsheet would have to take place.
okay,
Yes.
But the two positions that we discussed and decided to hold back on,
They're 2%.
are not happening,
Nope.
and it's gonna take an act of Congress to get it to happen.
So my thought on that is, first of all, it's not a market adjustment though. Performance appraisals will be coming up in the near future. So
Yep.
there'll be the opportunity for, I know, there'll be the opportunity for step increases, but not until,
23.
not until 23. Right, not until 23.
And there were just two positions there, so. Okay.
all right. So in terms of what are the items that Personnel Committee needs to focus on for those particular two things, the classification spreadsheet?
All right, so classification spreadsheet.
Okay,
The personnel committee is going to have to discuss, you're going to have to look at the existing classification spreadsheet
Yep.
and the new one to see
Right.
how this transition is going to happen.
Yep,
Right.
exactly.
And again, for budgetary changes, there's just going to have to be some sort of, some sort of outline where an employee is, what the shift is going to be as far as placing them on the appropriate grade and step, and
Right.
what the financial implications of that will be.
Yep.
So it's just going to take time to, to have it actually go through and processed and reflected in FY 23 fully.
Right, right, okay.
The only other thing that could be done, without changing all the numbers on the new classification spreadsheet. I'm trying to think. Maybe there's a way that we could at least start placing positions into their proper grades and steps, kind of on an interim basis, using the
Yep.
current rates, and
Right.
then shift over to the new rates in those
So
same.
some of those folks that we gave an earlier increase on 1/1/21 based in the money came from the contingency funds that you had set up prior to this. And those we may be able to put into the new new ranges. So I've got to see, I guess we need to kind of do it out a little bit and figure out what falls out, what falls in, that sort of
Mhm.
thing, whether we can use the new classification ranges.
Now,
accordingly.
are you
And
going to
don't-
be adjusting the classification spreadsheet for the town report? Because usually we print that in the town report as to what the new,
The 2%.
so like the 2% would have to be in the town report,
Right.
which needs to be done like
Right,
next week.
right. But I was just wondering, I guess I'm thinking out loud, whether we need to make sure that those people that we had given the increases to, if we can, put them in the new range,
Mhm.
the range closest to what, or whether we should even try and do the new ranges.
Well, when you approved them, they were given a grade and a step.
They were. And I'm
Right,
trying to
yes.
think,
Yeah.
So they would just have to make sure that they're if you move them up or down, then you're just gonna have to make sure you move those on the side.
Yeah, I think we're all okay right now. And then that'll give us some time to contemplate changing all the ranges for fiscal year 23. I just, long as if people are falling within, I think we got everybody that was really, really out of whack. I think we got the increases for them to go through. Remember, Sue, the committee went
Yep.
over all those. I think we
Just
got
had,
most,
we really only have one that's still a little bit low.
right,
oh, yeah,
Good.
and that's already taken a couple of adjustments already, so.
Well,
Right.
no, yeah, that one, and we have another one too,
Yeah.
that was a little below.
So, you know what we could do? I don't know how quickly I can do this, but we could actually set up a spreadsheet that it'll show, it'll be the new classification plan, and we can place the employees where they belong in that plan, noting their current rate on the current classification and compensation plan. So
Yep.
it'll be easier to note the differences. I mean, some of them is probably going to be, it's just going to be cents or,
Right, right.
minor adjustments. But I think that that's something that we could put together and really look to see what that looks like.
right.
And it is something we can do after this budget season's over, and I mean, after we get everything done from Sandy, we can sit down and do it. There's not a huge
Right,
urgency on that.
but on
Okay.
the one for the town report, June, you were saying though, that we do need to get that classification spreadsheet updated with the
To the-
2%.
Yep, 2%, and then
Yep.
also make sure that the people that were approved for the January are listed there.
Go into the correct
Correct zone.
grade and step.
Yep, yep.
Yep,
That
okay,
can be adjusted for next year, but as far as just so that way there, if we get any new people in or if it's questioned or.
and I
It's all
just
there.
gotta make sure that we grab the right spreadsheet, because not the one with last year's
There was no
COLA
2.5%.
that they didn't get. Yeah,
Correct. It was
so that-
level funded, so you have to go back to 20,
right,
I think.
right, okay, all right. All right, so that makes sense there. I just wanted to make sure we were, on the same page in terms of what the next step is.
No,
And
I
the
don't
other thing-
remember when we printed the town report last year, did it include the 2.5% in the classification spreadsheet? I think it did, but
I think it did, yeah.
I'm just thinking,
Oh.
is there a way for us to make some sort of notation on it that was not used or given or,
It should be noted.
yeah,
We've already adjusted the spreadsheet for FY '22 showing the 2%. So that's
Mhm.
something that we can share with you, Claire, and you can just check it over and make sure that it
Oh,
looks.
yeah, okay, and then make
Right,
sure
so-
people the positions are in the right place,
Yeah.
that's all. Yep,
Yeah, okay. And then
okay, I didn't realize you already did that, great.
we did it when we plugged those numbers into the budget. I think Amy
Okay.
helped with that, actually.
Beautiful.
we didn't put it in the spreadsheet.
The class and comp,
Yeah, I don't think we changed the,
I think there's been an update though, I think.
maybe
Right, take
because
a
I think,
look and let me know.
Well, yeah,
If you
we'll
have it,
look.
if you don't, then I'll just use the ones I've gotten and update those.
Okay, so there's one other thing that we're going to have to consider for FY23. We are going to need to calculate in, when we do that class and comp spreadsheet, you know, I don't know if it's not a comparison, it's kind of a
Yeah.
melding of them. We're going to need to factor in the average, the COLA adjustments from those market comps, right? Those are going to also have to
Yeah.
track with it. So we'll have to do that.
Okay. Okay, good. Yep. All right, the next item, we want to talk a little bit about the bylaws because we submitted all our information about the personnel policies, but we really, honestly, I hadn't gone through the bylaws until now. And I did take a look at some of the changes that were made to incorporate town administrator that we have now. And the language, there's some other language in here that looks to be like language that we might not have known was there, but it comes from the reorganization to being established a board of selectmen town administrator form of government. So it looks like some of those have been incorporated into the red line version of what you sent out this afternoon.
Yeah, and there's a lot more, unfortunately. June did a great job. June actually went through all of this and did all the redlining, the recommended
Yep.
redlining. So
And I have more.
there's a
it was
lot.
a very quick draft. Just an FYI, while I was doing the research today and relooking at some of the things, there is a discrepancy in the actual bylaws that were voted at town meeting versus what is right now on the personnel's webpage. The ones that are listed on the personnel webpage, I'm going on a limb. I'm not 100% certain of this, but I know 100% it did not go to town meeting. But on it, it actually says approved May of 2011. I want to say that the personnel committee may have voted the adjustments to that,
Okay.
but it never went through the actual full process of actually being voted on. So the personnel bylaws are different, a little bit different, not by a whole heck of a lot, just a few words here and there.
Yep.
But personnel manual, the policies and procedures
Yeah.
may be different. So you may wind up having two different copies out there. So just in case you hear some discrepancies on something,
Okay.
that could be where it's from. I'm
All
just,
right.
but we
Okay.
definitely probably want to get rid of those.
Could we be checking
Yeah.
with each other to see which ones we're all using, we're referring to?
So the ones that are from Eloise that actually
That
are
Margaret
not
said-
as easy to read because they're little,
Yep.
those are the real ones.
Okay.
So the ones that are actually on Eloise's, if you go to the bylaws underneath Eloise's, and it's on page 7 and 8 of the town bylaws, those are the actual bylaws. There wasn't a lot of different. The only thing that I really noted was underneath section 2 of application. And it just talked about all town departments and positions shall be subject to the provisions of this bylaw, except elected officials was added to it, and it's not in the actual bylaw. Which
Okay.
it needs to be, but it's not.
So what you sent today, Margaret, are the official ones and the correct ones. Is
That's
that
correct, yes.
okay?
Yep.
Great. Okay.
Yep.
So one of the items that, just looking through this quick, I'm sorry, I did not have a chance to read the whole thing, but I did notice a lot of my thoughts that I had on these are here, with the exception of the benefits piece, employee benefits. And I don't know, do we really want to get into that much detail on the benefits for employees, or do we want to simply say the benefits for, I guess it's the benefits for employees covered by this bylaw shall be based on the following elements supplemented by the development of policies pursuant to section 5 of this bylaw. And then just put vacation, and not just the personnel committee and town shall adopt policies regarding shall adopt policies regarding vacation, period. Do we want to, I just don't know how much detail we want to have in there.
So June actually looked into another couple of, she got Concord's and Shrewsbury's personnel bylaws.
Oh, wow.
They do include detail. And in addition to that, June mentioned, and this goes way back, that when the personnel bylaw was adopted, town meeting intentionally, I mean, there was an intent to include that amount of detail.
Okay.
So, so that it wouldn't be easy to deviate from it.
Okay. All right. All
And
right.
so
I
that
did
way
not know
too-
that.
Yeah, so that way there too, the taxpayers knew what was actually happening. I do have to say though, that when I was looking at other towns, they have the detail, but they don't have the full detail.
Yep.
So it's one of those where it will say vacation. And I added a little thing in there with vacation because that one does not seem to be in the bylaws in all towns. So I didn't know if we wanted to do something like the personnel committee and the town administrator shall adapt policies regarding how regular status employees accrue vacation. So it doesn't actually say it. It just says that the personnel policy and procedure manual will provide further definition of the
Right.
accruals and the use of vacation leave.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and I don't know if this is premature, but after doing all of this, it's almost might be worthwhile for us to hold off on it, just because if we want to reference some detail, we want to make sure it's going to be the same in the policies. So we don't want to change the policies.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So it's almost like you probably want to do it simultaneously, as far as if you're going to plan on making any major changes. Because I'm thinking right now, looking at it, we're not doing anything against the bylaws right now. Everything's still within what's printed.
Yep.
It's just that if you want to update things as far as vacation on how it's accrued or how it's, applied, or the sick pay you want to change, even the little things, because there are things that are missing from the bylaws right now that are included. Some of them have details, some of them don't have details.
Right.
So
It's, yeah, and so a lot of this right now, without the policies having been reviewed and approved and in place,
Right.
a lot of this might be housekeeping type stuff, and then we'd have to go back later potentially and do
Okay.
more substantive changes to it.
Right.
but that's up to you guys, however you want to
Yeah.
handle it. I mean, if you wanted to go in and do some tweaking now, you could, but it's just, I have a feeling that once you do the policies, you may look back at the bylaws and go, yeah, no, we'd kind of like it just to be bulleted.
Right.
You don't want full details. We
Yeah.
don't, or maybe you want to add a few more details in it in certain places, but just present it differently, more
Yep.
up to date, I guess,
Right.
as far as the presentation goes. But
I just having so much detail, but now hearing that the town wanted that in there, that the people of the town, and is that, Margaret, in your experience with the other towns you've worked for, have they put that much detail in for the town to vote on so say, just for instance, because I know Sue and the committee have talked about the vacation time and the possibility of changing the accruals, and because we thought for somebody first starting, 1 week of vacation is low. Typically, employees start with around 2 weeks vacation, and then, if we wanted to change that, we'd have to go right now to town meeting and bring that across, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Without having them matched up with the policies yet.
Right, right. And we're not even quite certain until we get more feedback and more information back from Sandy, what exactly we want the policies to say.
And in the same vein, the listing of the holidays in the
Yeah.
bylaw, because that can change.
Believe
in
it or not,
different-
that is the only thing that seems to be consistent in almost all of the bylaws I looked at were the days of the holiday.
Oh,
Some
wow.
of them, though, actually gave a half a day before Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's.
or some that I've seen give like the little list and then a floating holiday, make it
Yeah,
a
floating
shorter
holiday.
list.
Yeah.
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 A shorter list, maybe not the Memorial Day, not Memorial Day, Veterans or Columbus Day, not Veterans or Columbus, and then there's a
Right.
floating.
Patriots Day, I think, is the other one.
Yeah, Patriots was the other one.
Right.
And I don't know what your plan is with, what is it called, Juneteenth?
Yeah,
Because
there's
that's been
talk.
floating around now on the personnel HR association mailings has been going around too on that one too, so.
That might actually be a good, so it's a state holiday, not a federal holiday. And Claire, I don't know what you're doing, at the hospital, but it's a mixed bag. Some
Yeah.
towns are not automatically
Yep.
doing it. Some towns are saying that they are negotiating it with their collective bargaining units. So it is right now. There's a mix.
Okay. I guess I need to do a little research on that too, to figure out. So given all the redlining in these bylaws, it sounds like we still have a little while to go before we make a recommendation to change the bylaws with the town. Is that
I would be more comfortable waiting until we have the policies in front of us. I don't think there's anything in here that's necessary to go to town meeting right now.
okay? That's what I was thinking as I'm looking through this. And if we don't know how we want to change it, why bring it to them now?
And then have to
them-
do it again.
and then have to do it again, because it just makes I think it makes for more confusion even with our townspeople who have to vote on it.
And I also have to tell you, I did look at a lot of them, and some of them with the bylaws, they actually, in your personal policies and procedures, they reference each other. So that way there, you don't necessarily have to put as much detail per se in the bylaw if
Right.
it references a section in the policy and procedure. So that was
Right.
another thing I was noticing. So
Right.
if you didn't want to do the vacation or the holidays, you might actually be able to say, okay,
Right.
see section blah, blah, blah. of
Right, and my
policies and
concern, yeah, one of my biggest concerns are, because I have to say, our policies that we have right now, although Sandy's were her drafts and her recommendations and her suggestions were very, very good. I think in terms of the definitions that we currently have in our policies fit to the way the town is administering the policies in terms of a regular employee, in the having to go from the policies into the bylaws to see if they're like, even just that piece in the vacation thing, I noticed regular part-time employees, regular,
Yeah.
there's also a behind the scenes definition to some of that stuff in terms of benefit eligibility.
June and I were talking about this today when you know, we said, practically speaking, you know, behind the scenes, we have some areas that are very challenging, obviously, you know, with the sick
Yep.
time calculation and all that other stuff. So there are some things that are really challenging, but otherwise we've been able to kind of trudge along using the existing policies. So do they need to be updated? Oh, absolutely. But
Right, right. So they're
Cover.
not so bad, but does all that little detail and definitions and that sort of thing need to be in the bylaws? I don't think that they do.
not
Yeah,
everything.
policies and procedures.
Yes.
So we've got some, at least we have some time to work on these. And looking at this red line version, you know, we can take a look at this information. I didn't get a chance to go from here to the policies in specifically, because we want to make sure they match, first of all. And if they don't match, where do they not match? And, oh yeah, by the way, do we need to have all this detail? So at least we have some room. So Sue, do we want to keep that on the docket for upcoming?
That on our,
meetings?
yes,
Was
I
there
think we
any?
need,
Yep.
I think we need to keep it on our agenda, but I'm getting the sense that we really need to have the policies and procedures and bylaws at the same time.
Mm. Mhm.
Yep. Was there anything within the redlining that you so kindly went through and did to help us out here in reviewing this? Was there anything that you wanted to explain in that, or I know you're trying to use some of the language from the chapter 384 of the Act of 28, when we went to be a town
That's
administrator.
a project in itself, integrating that too.
Right.
June's markup, June, your markup, there is I don't know if this is duplication in the current bylaw or, I'm gonna find it. So it says, a system of personnel administration based on merit principles that, this is, I'm touching on housekeeping here, based on merit principles that ensures a uniform, fair, and efficient application of personnel policies. Then you go down to section 3, and it says of a, what policies and procedures need to implement, I think it says the same thing here. Does it?
There was a few things that are duplication, but it's a matter of looking at it and going, okay, do you want to keep it here and get rid of it over there?
I
Do
see.
you want to
Yeah.
clarify this a little bit, because some of it, it makes sense to me because I've been here since the beginning of time. So I understand where it came from at the time, but
Yeah.
now it's kind of, now we have the town administrator part of it. Where does personnel want to have to do the whole brunt of things, like taking care of all the personnel records, where technically that should be with Margaret, not
Right.
with you. Where
Right.
now you guys would be more of the policy setting versus doing
Right.
job descriptions and all of that. So it's,
A lot of that I did change. And especially there was just my penciling in of, you know, like, I guess I need to read up a little bit more on like in terms of public hearing for the preparation of policies in
that was another thing that when I was reading it
and
going, okay, do we
taking it
legally have to do that?
right.
I don't know.
Right, and taking administrative assistant out and putting town like for most of these things, I put the personnel committee and or the town administrator shall prepare policies or amendments to policies. So I put and or only because, you know, honestly, we go on the guidance of what's needed by the town, and the only way we know what's needed by the town is if the town administrator shares that with us as a personnel committee. So a lot of the changes that I made honestly have town administrator in almost, sorry, Margaret, in almost every line.
The, you know, section 5, well, throughout, there's just gonna need to be a lot of updates.
Right, right. And I just thought I never dug that deep because we haven't had to do any public hearings or anything like that, but
No.
I was like, wow, do we really need that? Is that
So
something?
it's interesting because the bylaw says it requires public hearing. The special act governing the town now says,
Yep.
work with the personnel committee to develop and implement personnel policies and procedures for all town employees. Doesn't,
Right.
you know, so it's gonna find them where these.
So that can go. So
Yeah.
that's
Right,
one of
so
the
a
sections that
lot
should
of-
go.
Right, and a lot of it sounds like it's gonna be changes based on the adaptation of being a town administrator, select board town versus just a select,
Yeah, there's,
selectman.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm looking at, I think this is Shrewsbury's policy here. They have a very small section in theirs on how to amend it. And it's pretty much just based upon recommendations of the town manager, which would be the town administrator.
Right,
And voted by the personnel committee. And then it does say something here about a receipt of a signed petition. That such amendment, the personnel board, after giving petitioners, department heads, and employees at least 3 days of written notice, shall hold a hearing of the interested parties, blah, 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 for 15 days after the hearing. So
which town is this one, June? Is this Concord?
Shrewsbury,
Oh, Shrewsbury.
it's on page 4 or 5, but it's a very small section. So I mean, maybe it's just something, which I mean, I know we do have to, if we do anything major, like if you
Yes.
decide to change the vacation and things like that, you
Right.
would have to notify.
yeah,
But, you know, but generally, I mean, if you're just going to add town administrator to it, does it need to have a hearing to do that? I mean,
right,
well,
right, right. All right, so then I would think that the next step on this would be to hold off a little bit until such time as we know what we want to do with the policies. But at least we can start the process of looking at the bylaws and looking at the policies and comparing them
mhm.
together.
And just keep that original copy, original.
This
You're
original
funny.
copy. The true- That's what you call
Because
it?
by the time we're all done redlining it, we
This
may
is-
have to go back and just totally redo it.
Oh
This is
my
official,
word.
official.
So the one that I have, Berlin bylaw document approved May 2011.
Is
So
not,
that's the one I got online.
yeah.
So I'm gonna
But
switch it
I
out.
mean, if you look at it, if you look at the two, like I said, there's very minimal
Okay.
differences, but
Okay,
that is not the official town bylaw. That's what I'm assuming the personnel committee at the time approved.
okay,
Not that anything in it is bad, because like I said, I almost went completely and it's just about exact.
right, right. Now,
It's
do you
just not
guys,
the official bylaw, so.
Yeah.
Right. so at least you had this on, in Word format so that you could at least.
No, it was not. But I learned today that you can actually copy it from a PDF and copy it into a Word document. It doesn't look pretty at first, but it can be done. I was afraid it was going to have to be rewritten. I mean, I
Yeah,
assume
yeah.
Eloise must have it somewhere,
Yep,
but yeah. So this is a
Well,
playing copy. This isn't
okay.
Eloise's. This is for you.
all right,
to-
good.
But it's
I-
right from Eloise's book.
Yeah, there is an app. Several folks that I work with have it.
Yeah.
I don't have it on my computer, but to change PDFs to Word, I
Yeah.
don't. We have it.
Yeah, I think eventually we're gonna have to make, I want to say
I
maybe
would love
James
it.
has it
I know.
in Eloise's office. I think James has it, but I'm not 100% certain of that.
I would love it.
Oh,
He knows how to
oh,
do.
I think it's a wonderful thing because, you know, it just helped us
You
out
don't have to
tremendously.
reformat any, you don't have
Right,
to reformat the whole
right.
thing.
Right. So
Oh.
given that we're going to hold off a little bit on the making any recommendations right now to the town meeting on bylaw changes, is there any other business that we need to discuss tonight?
Does personnel want to take a vote on withdrawing the article, or do you just want me?
Okay, all right, that makes sense, Margaret. Because we voted on,
Withdraw till a future time.
I will make a motion that we will withdraw the article regarding the bylaw for a future date.
writing this down
And I
until a future date.
date.
So I second that motion. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Claire Pond.
Sue, I.
Okay. So we're withdrawing the article regarding the bylaws until a future date. Withdrawing the article from town meeting, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
the warrant.
Regarding the bylaws until a future date. All right, good. And in the meantime, we can be reviewing the bylaws and holding them up to the policies to see where we stand with that. And whether they match up, if they don't match up, but also considering what we want to do with the policies so that we can incorporate that into any recommendation that we make to change the bylaws, or a recommendation to take some of the detail out of the bylaws.
Perfect.
All right. Any other business? Nothing? All right. Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.